Right, Rick, how are we doing? Welcome to part 2.
Thanks for having me again, Joe.
Yeah, lovely stuff. So I tell you what, just in case anyone's not watched part 1, why don't you jump in just a quick overview of who you are and what you do?
Okay, my name is Ricardo Theophilo, or Rick. I'm founder of the Infinite Mindset, Foodkast. Work before in the catering industry for over 20 years as a executive chef. And I transitioned to recruitment, where nowadays I do like mentoring, business advisor, consultancy, every possible things you can think about business. That's what I do nowadays.
Love it. So we've just been speaking about landing the dream job, the importance of CV, LinkedIn, and everything between. Now, what we're going to talk about is AI versus human, how job searching is changing forever. So, first thing I want to talk about is how is AI changing the landscape of recruitment today?
Wow. I'm old, so imagine we are in 1995 and we got internet. Nobody knew what to do with internet. I remember when I was early teens, that stage, and we used to use internet just to chat with people. That was the only thing. Was IceQ.
All right.
Yeah, I'm that old.
AOL and all that.
Yeah. So we didn't know what to do with internet in that stage. Is right now, is the way I feel is the same way with AI. We are in the infancy of AI. Majority of the companies, they don't know what to do. Trying to figure out policies, how to apply the AI. But AI is already getting in and is learning fast and moving very fast. So what you see nowadays with AI is start to implementing the platforms. The machine learning is all over. Doesn't matter who you are now in social media, doesn't matter what, LinkedIn, they are what embedded the machine learning. So there's something called ATS system that's already the machine learning help us to find you. But it's still like there's the human factor in the middle. I'd say in a few years probably that will change.
Of course. It's my immediate thought when I think of AI is we spoke with a great guy on here called Michael Mattia, and he said AI is going to eat the internet. And I've thought that meant a few different things, but where I've landed with that now is it basically means that we're ignoring the majority of what's on the internet now because it's almost taken the human interaction out entirely. If someone writes a post, half the time you can bet the person who posted it didn't even read it themselves entirely.
Yes.
So it almost, you immediately, the human part of you goes, why bother even reading that when they probably don't even know what they said? They probably just did something like, oh, I want to say something roughly about what I do, blah, 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 write me something. And you can see all the Zs and all that. And it's like, right, dude, I'm not giving you the time of day because you aren't even giving yourself the time of day.
Yes.
That's my immediate thought of AI. And it's where it's leading to is increasingly the importance of this face-to-face, person-to-person. Yeah. It's the only thing we know is real. Mm-hmm. And how do you think that's shaping up with the evolution of AI in recruitment?
There's a part of the face-to-face is gone. It's basically 98% of all the process in an interview process is not face-to-face, is online. The AI now is just helping to move the things a little bit fast. Let's say the phase 1, when you apply for a job and you have a screening call, that's phase 1. That's the most important part for you when you're applying for a job. And right now, people are not getting on that through because AI already involving filtering. I get so many CVs daily that is filtered already. And then the time I have, normally I have like an hour maximum to read all the CVs I got. And then I have the entire rest of the day to call people and trying to arrange and call clients, etc. So the AI is already going on that. Sometimes I answer the email and I already notice people are using AI. Everyone's using AI. Doesn't matter who say, oh, I don't use AI, I'm that good. No, you're not. You're using. Everyone's using.
How do you know when someone definitely hasn't used it?
Well, I get tons of emails daily and weekly. And sometimes I get answers that you notice AI have their way they talk. And then I have answers, the email answered by people, and you can see the similarity.
there's that bit at the bottom of ChatGPT that says, here we are, this lines up with what you forgot to delete that part.
Happened a few times to me, like you can see the person just put and then forgot to, is that good enough for you?
Yeah,
or stuff like
Please
that.
let me know if you need any tweaks.
But there's a lot of people actually doing this. So you already see people using AI in a level. And that's now you're using for something silly. Answer that message. My wife is angry. What should I say? Whatever. Like you get that. It's already happening. So the companies, they don't know what to do. They don't know who they are interviewing now. And the good part is AI knows what's right. But remember in the first part, I said normally, I spoke to you off camera that in the hospitality, that's something I see as my superpower. The hospitality, you have 3 personalities: the CV, the interview, and the action of the same person. So the hospitality in general, they're terrible to write CVs. So they say they're amazing in the paper. When you go for interview, you start to talk to them and say, oh, okay, Joe, I see here you work as an engineer for NASA. Can you tell me more? And you, yeah. And you can't even tell me what you wrote. It's more or less that people do not read their emails or what ChatGPT is doing.
And that goes back to something we said in the previous episode, where it's not overselling yourself, because ChatGPT really can make you sound amazing. And although you do want to give off a good impression, you also don't want that second part where you actually meet someone in person to go, hang on a minute, this doesn't line up with what the impression I got from your CV. Yeah. So I suppose you have to actively aim for consistency across what you say you can do, who you are, and then how you back it up once you've landed a role.
Yes, 100%. Majority of the time, what I see nowadays is people like, I want to make a CV. Like one of the services I provide is tailor CV. And people look and say, why would spend 150 euros to have a CV done? They don't understand. I interview the person. I write it down, what you say. Because sometimes, majority of the time, people do not know how to express themselves and how to write. Because one, you want to pass through that firewall. That's the AI nowadays. Second firewall is the recruiter, TL, the hiring manager, doesn't matter who, the person. You need to pass that person. After this, normally, if you're going through a recruitment agency, we'll go to the TL or hiring manager or HR of the company we're doing that. And then after that, we'll get in the hand of the person actually you need to meet. So there's 4 processes there. So if you go in a faster way, let's say you're hiring straight to my company, you're going to have 3 steps. So how you pass through these 3 firewalls right now, AI is helping you to write. But when you get in the front of the person, it's not you. You can memorize. I have people normally memorize what they say. But when you start to do calibrate questions, that's something I learned in the hospitality because, as I mentioned, was 3 different persons in one, multiple personalities. So I developed tactics to ask you questions and you tell me things without me asking. So I start to do this and I developed that technique to get information from people without them noticing. And as I mentioned in the previous episode, I don't do interviews. My screen call is the interview. And then normally people do not expect, their guard is down and I take any information.
That makes sense. So you almost want to train people to be authentic, don't you?
Yes.
Because even memorizing certain answers, things that you think an interviewer might want to hear, it's not giving off who you are as a person, which theoretically is the thing that sells you into the role. Yes.
And people are very good to fake. And then especially you not go, it's like social media, you not post your bad day. You know, you will not come to interview and say, oh, Jesus Christ, I hate to work on Fridays. You will not say that. You know, like you need to be authentic. You need to be yourself. You need to sell who you are. And then you need to go in that way. I have a funny story. I don't know if you know people in the culinary world. There's a chef in Ireland. His name is Kevin Turtons. He used to have like 2 Michelin star. Amazing chef. And I used to run a restaurant that was literally across the road from him. And then I got a guy to do a trial with me. And the guy wrote it down. He was a coming chef, working as the base. After the trainee, was the lowest in the kitchen, working for Turton. And then the guy came. I said, okay, great. Come here. Let's do a trial and see how you do. He was there doing the things amazing. The guy was amazing. And I said, didn't match the what he was saying versus what he was doing. I said, Kevin never would let you go. You're this good, he will not let you go. And no, it's just I want something new. I said, man, the guy has 2 Michelin stars in his door. I don't have that for you. And then why you want to come to work for me? I saw you in the social media, blah, 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 blah. I said, man, that's BS. So I called Kevin. Hi, Kevin, how you doing? Yeah. I said, I have that person here doing a trial with me. And he said X, Y, Z. Could you tell me a little bit more why you're letting him go? He said, what? He said he's a chef? He washed my dishes here. And I looked at, wow, that guy learned. But what turned me off was after that, I sit down with him and said to him, I said, look, I call Kevin. Do you have anything to tell me before we proceed here? Is that what you're saying here is all the right things? He said, yes. I said, okay, thank you very much. I'm not going with you.
Because you knew he was lying.
He was lying.
Why would people do that? Surely they know that's going to catch up.
Yeah.
How do people think they're going to get away with this?
It's not people think people are stupid, but I think that people think people are stupid, unfortunately. I always try to leave a door open. When you catch someone, you need to say, look, I caught you. What are you going to do?
Give them the opportunity to say, look,
yes,
I was desperate, or this.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Let me figure it out.
Happened before, chefs constantly lie. They say they're Gordon Ramsay, all of them. And then one of the jokes I had in the kitchen, I used to say whatever the name of the person said, this one, I think he's the Gordon Ramsay of Brazil, whatever, because whatever people say, but Gordon Ramsay is an amazing chef. And he was brilliant what he did. And then when people they sell themselves, and chefs are very good to do that. But when you put in the kitchen, no. Sometimes you say the guy say I'm amazing, and you put in the grill is the most difficult section, I would say, or sauce, making sauces. The guy, if you can't do, you can't do. And then you be a little bit strict with that. And the same, any career you go, people will lie to you. They will oversell, and then it's how you know how to sell.
Why would someone want to get a job that they know they're not capable of doing? Surely it's inevitable that you're going to be in a whole load of trouble any minute.
Yeah. Don't do it. You're going to just make a fool of yourself.
Yeah.
I always say, get small and grow. Get the experience and grow, then actually go for something you actually can't do it, because you can't deliver what they expect. So always undersell. That's something I always did. My entire career was underselling. I go to the places and say I can do 20%, and I knew I could do 40. But sometimes come a curveball and you deliver it 30 or 25. People will be all over the moon. Look and say, wow, Ricardo, you're amazing. You said you do 20, you did 25. Happens. And sometimes I over-deliver. But it's what that makes, leave that good taste for every single person you meet and you're going to deliver. If you come to me and say, Rick, I can do a full movie for you. Okay. And then end up you deliver for me like a half movie. Underwhelming. You know what I mean here. Always try to say a little bit less about you. It's not
it gives you margin, doesn't it, to not disappoint, first of all, but then impress.
Yes. What people want is not superstars. They want consistent people. That's it.
I got you. And, I did mention this on a previous episode, but it ties in with something you said before. You know how people oversell themselves on CVs?
Yes.
And at risk of mentioning him again, it was another Simon Sinek thing. And it was, he's not the only guy I listened to, by the way. It just happened to say these two things. But he said when interviewing someone, he always says at the end, by the way, what's one thing I should know, like an issue possibly, or a downside perhaps? Because everyone would talk about, oh, I can do this, I can do that. And then I've always thought about this. So I guess I've learned a lot of skills. I've got a lot of strengths from doing this for years. But I'm very aware of one major flaw I have, and I would like people to know it if I work with them. I'm quite a slow learner, but I learn deeply. Like whatever I learn, I want to know not just how and what, but why. And it definitely takes me longer to learn things than I see other people picking things up. But I learn extremely thoroughly, whatever it is. And I feel like that maybe doesn't fit into most people's agendas where they want a role filled and just, you're on it, you're doing it straight away. Do you think it's wise for people to talk about or perhaps give some obvious, I won't say flaw, but...
That's not flaw.
No.
No, it's a strength.
Even though it's like, I will learn slowly. I may take longer.
In the long term, you'll be amazing. You'll be able to teach anyone. And you know better, even better than actually my best person or a specialist in the business. That's very good to know. And that means you're not quitter. You stay longer with me. And then all the calibrate questions you use and the interview tactics of the interviewer. Majority of the people, they ask the cliche questions and they just go to the bullet points. That's how you do not have someone who lasts longer in a company. They are just looking the numbers to make to achieve their goals, the targets, KPIs. However, like I love honesty. So if somebody come to me and say, look, I'm a slow learner, however, just have a little bit of patience. Understand that, like for me, that's the way I do. So if you don't mind, I'll be your best guy. However, will get me a little bit longer than you expect. Do you have that patience? And then I'll say, yeah. Like you give a great example because my wife has an English school as a foreign language, and she hired a gentleman recently, and was the same. He was honest and went to her like, "Look, I need a little bit more time. I like to see how the things work." And she said, "Okay, I take your time, and then just communicate with me when you're feeling too deep. I help you." And like he's doing great. She loves the way he's working.
That's great. It's just setting expectations, isn't it?
Yes.
That's it. So I'm wondering, we've got an AI-driven hiring process now. How should job seekers or candidates differently prepare for this in a way they maybe would previously?
Okay, there's a system nowadays called ATS. Probably put on the bottom there what stands for. I don't remember the acronym now, but basically ATS in a nutshell is keywords. Example, SaaS sales. You like the words I want to read is not what I wrote in the job description. So I will put there KPIs. When I'm doing the search, KPIs, I'll be looking sales cycle, full sales cycle, part sales cycles, length of cycle, etc., etc. Technical questions. If you know your business and you know where you're getting in, you know that, and you're going to put that in your CV. And there's a trick to do. So normally when I set up my clients, I have my own way to actually put that in the CVs. So I always put in bold and tell them, look, if you go, let's say, from sales and then you want to go to SaaS sales, is close enough. It's sales. It's the same thing. It's all about your attitude. But like you do not expect to go to salary of someone is 5 years work on that just because you work 5 years selling cars. So you need to have a pay cut on that. And then you need to learn the lingo and how the things work. And you just change. Just change those words. It's very simple.
Right. So next thing I'd like to do, you mentioned before you came to the studio, you would be able to do a resume test.
Yes.
And yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. So the first part, looking at CV, before I answer your question, how long do you think gets someone or a recruiter to read a CV?
Do you know what? I'll answer this differently now because you already told me the real answer.
Yeah.
But my assumption was 30 seconds originally.
Yeah. Average is between 6 to 10 seconds to read a CV. And then that's all about the keywords and what you're looking for. Let's say in this case here, I have a PhD doctor.
Oh, is that why you put keywords in bold, by the way?
Yeah, also, because it is to catch. This one's not a CV actually I made. So I just got online. And the person's professor with PhD. So in this case, would work in that way. But if I was looking, let's say, for a teacher for my wife's school, I wouldn't be so good for me. Why? Because he starts here. His name is fine. He put exactly what's his title right now. So I already rule him out because he's too expensive for what I will be looking. After that, he did something, is a big mistake. He put his address, full address, because you don't know where that CV will go. Remember what I said, sometimes I have 4 stages? It's 4 people. GDPR is your information. You're giving your information. Don't do that. Put your LinkedIn profile is fine. Your email and your phone number, that's enough. You could put this, like here in this case, he is in US, and they state he can put that, but like don't put like your actually address. Somebody can knock your door tomorrow. And another mistake he made here, he put his Twitter account. That's very personal. If I have like a political view and I post something there or anything, that's a bias. You're already losing there. So the next part, he wrote literally 3 lines for somebody with a PhD with 20 years experience, just 3 lines as a profile. For a professor, okay. And then 3 educations that took him about like 12 years to going from finishing college to get his PhD. So I look, that guy prefer like 20 years experience. That means half of his time he was just studying. He's not someone actually like to get his hands dirt.
You know, Matt, before we go on, 3 lines. I was wondering if there's a strength to, because people don't like to read a lot. Like you say, people will go for 6 seconds to look through. Is there maybe a sweet spot of like, right, I've given you enough information there, but I'm really not trying to drag this out? Like, you know, if you have like a 10-page CV, is that just a straight up hindrance?
I will explain the best CV after I read that, and then you understand the difference.
Okay. Yeah.
So he starts with education. Is another, no, I will not even call him. Sometimes could be example I said before, the guy just retired, he just wants something easy, and he's applying for this role just because next door to his home, and he don't want that headache anymore of college. Okay, could be that. And then when it comes to the professional part, one of them, the one he's working the longest there since 2014, he wrote 3 lines. And the previous job that he worked just for 4 years, there's 8 lines. Speak louder than words. The place you will spend literally over a decade, you just put 2 lines, and the other one you put like 8 lines. You know, like that's not good. And he wrote 3 books. That's really cool. So it would be very difficult for me to even call him. Why? Because the way you screen is first name, phone number is very important. The phone number, because if you get in your locality, especially here in Ireland, Europe, sorry. So you want to see the location. Like I'm specialized with German market. So if I get a phone like let's say 44 UK, and the guy is applying for a job in German that's 49, like straight away I say, okay, that guy is not in Germany. So I need that person right now, need to be boots on the ground. So like I will not call that person, bye. And the guy could be actually there for years and just didn't want to change it because he got a really nice phone plan here. Yeah,
no, of course. Do you know, you mentioned he'd written 3 books, this guy.
Yeah.
And you said that's great. Was there any elaboration on what kind of books? Is there any?
Yes, he explained a little bit about what he wrote. But basically, what's happening here, I wouldn't even get close to that. Even I would just look aside, that guy's a scholar. He's there just to teach and write. He wants to be in the bench of his school. He's not actually there to teach people. That's the message he basically passing here, because he has a full-time job, and throughout that process he was actually studying and writing a book that I know is related to his studies.
Yeah.
But would be difficult for me to call if it's a salary of like, let's say 40K. I wouldn't call that guy. The guy will ask me for 80 or 100K. So waste my time. Bye. And the guy, that's the bias straight away of a person. So he could pass through all the ATS system, all the filters, the AI we have nowadays, but it still have the human factor. And that's what the next one you need to break. So when you write a CV, Joe, first you put your name, you put your email, you put your phone number, try to get the country you're applying, try to have the same number. If it's not, you can put the location you are. Example, I want to apply for a job in UK, in London. And I'll put it there, Dublin, Ireland, between brackets, willing to relocate. Mm-hmm. Straight away, I'm being honest and say, I'm based in Ireland and I want to relocate. So open the doors for me. And after that, you put your profile, as you mentioned, like how much I should write. Not have text. I would say maximum 5 lines. Maximum. That's way too much already. So you try to put 3 or 4. But the way we read in 6 seconds, we jump that. As I said, our brain do not work linear. We work like shooting everywhere. So we jump that part. We go straight to your work experience. So work experience, what you see is title, company, time you work, month and year. Always, never year and year. All right. So after that, you jump for education. After that, skills and languages you speak or whatever you do extra there. Never put a reference in the CV. Try to keep in between 2. If you have a vast experience, maximum 3 pages, maximum. But I recommend always between 1 to 2 pages because that will be too much already.
With ATS, is it always used? Is it always considered? Because I imagine some roles have very few candidates because it's so specialized.
Yes.
A lot of people might not be aware of this. I'd never heard of it. Maybe I wouldn't need to be aware of it because of what I do, but it does make me think like the amount of people out there maybe just wouldn't know that they're looking for keywords specifically. It might be that, you know what, it's filled out everyone that's applied. Only 5 people applied for this role. It's so specialized. Do people have to put that aside and just go in and manually go back through them a lot?
It's very important. Especially if you're specialized, your niche is very specialized. There's a handful of people in the country doing whatever you do. So it's very important because sometimes you need to tell who you are. Especially the ATS works very well for LinkedIn. For me, like as I mentioned, like I had at least once a month, I have someone there calling me. Sometimes a week, I have like 2 or 3 calls. Somebody, I saw you there. I get business, I get offers. I have a lot of different ways I get connected in LinkedIn. And majority of the time is the keywords. If I don't tell people that I can do A, B, C, you can't read my mind. So if I don't tell you, how you know? So it's exactly the same. And then sometimes I have extremely difficult to find people because they do not write. And that's where the ATS comes.
That makes sense. So in a world increasingly dominated by AI technology, what human elements still remain that are crucial for finding the right job?
It's basically what I just mentioned about the CV. First, you need to pass through the firewall of the AI nowadays. The next step is get the attention of the person. And then that's the keywords. Put in bold. Try to make simple to read because in 6 seconds, I will see all that, what I need to know. 1, if I see you jumping jobs every 5 months, you're out. There's a lot of things. It's just like, you're out, you're out, you're out.
Give us some more examples.
So first will be like, I will see your jobs where you work.
Like job hopping.
Job hopping, yes. So if you keep hopping from one place to another, like I will not waste my time because you spend 6 months and I need to do my job again. No, thank you. I will find the right person, get me a little bit longer, but I do the job once and it's done. So that's first. Sometimes, but I was working as a contractor and it's always 6 months, 3 months, Put it between brackets, contractor. There's a lot of people put, thinking it's cool to put freelancer. No, don't do that. Put contractor is more professional.
Freelancer kind of implies you're self-employed.
Yes.
I would say.
And then like sometimes people just put that to BS us to say, I was working in social media. Tell me more. What are you doing as a social media? Well, I wasn't employed, so I was doing Instagram and taking my pictures, going to the park every day.
Is that ever seen as a positive thing?
No, it happened before, people saying that. And it was like, but actually, did somebody pay you for that? No, it was just me. Oh, jeez. Yeah. So it's same like I have Foodkast that generate me revenue. So I have clients, or Infinite Mindset, I have clients that back me up. So always I say, do you have clients that can refer you for what you did and the service you provide? Mm-hmm. Yes. So I want a reference with the description of job that you provide and the length of that service. So sometimes straight away you can see in the face of the person like, oops. Yes. So you have many ways to literally trap the person to see the reality. So if you job hop a lot, that's already not good. That means you can't stay anywhere. So I can't rely on you. Number one. Number two is when you write, you need to have all the jobs kind of the same size. Example, the CV we just mentioned, like the job he spent the longest, he wrote less than the job that he's spent 4 years there.
But do you think it could be appropriate, let's say, in my case, I've run this company for about 13 years now, but I had a couple of little jobs for maybe 6 months or a year before. Would it be appropriate then to make them notably small?
Oh, yes. Yeah. You see where the things come from. Yeah. Like Infinite Mindset is my side gig. So I have a balance there. But I had one of my previous jobs, I spent 10 years there. So I have something a little bit more vast to say. So there is a balance, but you need to structure similar. One is job title. Second is what was required from you, expectation as a business. Second, you explain how you did your job and how you what you actually did. And the third part, you would put your achievements in that position. And what did you do? My KPIs, I was like every single quarter, and I achieve an average of 120%. And then normally I always recommend to put the past year that you had. Let's say Q1 I did 120, Q2 I did 180, Q3 I did 110, Q4 I did 125. And then you put the baseline, etc. And then people just like, interesting. If I'm working sales, that's amazing. That's what they want to see. They love numbers. So if you work in sales, they love numbers. So put numbers. If you work in customer service, put the customer service.
Yeah. So there's only really one more thing I'd like to discuss before I bring this to an end, unless, of course, there's anything else you'd like to touch on. But all of this is such a formal process. And in my world, when it's come to acquiring a job, a new client, it's very much been relationship-based, get to know decision makers of other companies I'm trying to sell my services to. And in that respect, like I say, it's entirely based on getting close with people and being like, is there any sort of tie over? And that is so wildly different from applying for a job in this formal way. Do you think there's any benefit, or do you think as a candidate there would ever be an advantage to literally doing exactly like you would as a business owner and building relationships with people in the business beforehand, specifically CEO, MD type people, and perhaps worming your way in that way?
Yes. The short answer is yes. It's very important you create relationship and network. I wouldn't say like go to CEO when you're trying to apply for a junior position in a large company. Try to get something close that people is more tangible. You know, I could say, I know the CEO of that company. And then the guy say, I don't know, he's about like 5 floors above me. So I don't know. So you need to create a relationship with people. It's very important. Nowadays, everything being like online is very difficult. It's more or less what we spoke. Like you never have a second chance to give a first good impression. Number one. Number two is like face-to-face, you have tricks to use. You know, the body language, etc. There's ways to approach the way you talk, but you can adapt that for online version. And then you need to be aware about that. And that's one of the things I teach people. I say when you get an online version, you need, like there are people literally, they get like that in the camera. Your face do not lie. You can read people very easy through their faces. And I said body language. If I had the entire interview just like this, how you feel? You would sleep in the first 5 minutes. But like I use a lot of my hands. So I tell people like Ricardo, I use my hands. So I need to have that space. 2 is the camera angle. People have the camera here because laptop. So when you look like this, look like you're half sleeping. So you need to have the camera in your eyesight, and the way you talk. If you're an introvert, it's very difficult to show motivation, and then the way you talk make difference. I used to work with sales before, and I went to the kitchen because I didn't want to deal with people anymore. That's a reality. I didn't want to deal with people and force them, literally force feed to buy and upselling stuff. I hate that because I think it's not nice. I don't like that. So I went to the kitchen and said, now I don't need to do that anymore. I just need to cook and people will be happy. I was wrong, Joe.
Oh dear. Go on.
To lead people, you need to motivate people. And the kitchen is very difficult. So one thing I learned, talk with a smile. It doesn't matter. Like imagine you talk with a person that you really like, talk with a smile. It doesn't matter what you say. I just drove here and I just killed 2 sheep and I'm here. So it sounds positive the way I'm saying. It's like, oh, that's weird. But like,
you know what? Sorry, just before you go on, that's almost one of the most old, original sort of jokes, like, you know, like a sort of classic woman thing, like, oh, it's not what you said, it's how you said it. And that's almost that's not even a joke anymore. That is common knowledge.
Yes.
It is exactly what it is. It's how you do anything.
Yes.
Is so much more important than what you do.
So you need to know how to present yourself in that way. Even in person or online, you need to present in the same way. One of the things, as I mentioned before, we are extremely self-aware about ourselves. And what happened, main mistake I see in majority of the meetings, minimize. Just have the person you talk in the screen. Normally I have people about this size, tiny, but I just have you to talk. If I have large in the screen, I have that tiny little guy in the corner. That's me. And then since we are self-aware, we just stay like that. And I have a meeting and people just looking like that. And you said, are you kidding me? So minimize, give a focus to the person. Number 1, talk the way you talk. Like, wait, I'll show that. That's my voice without talk with a smile. I condition myself to talk with a smile. Like if I was like talk like that, people would think it's just like your show is to make people sleep.
Wow.
So it's just the way you talk. And then people will look and say, you tell them to do whatever and they just feel like, wow, that's great. Thank you.
Well, do you know what as well? Because you mentioned this, I say this to a lot of people. I, by nature, am absolutely an introvert. But a lot of what I do requires me to be maybe not extrovert, but like do things that I'm maybe not as comfortable with. You know, like when I was a kid, I was always, you know, like playing on my own or like, you know, I had pals and whatnot, but I'd like, and, you know, playing very solo things. Like I'd like to play guitar, like playing PlayStation, you know. Even we did music production for 10 years before we got into like podcasting and whatnot. It's a very solo kind of road, you know.
Yeah.
All the things I like doing are very much one-player games. And yeah, I guess what's the deal with that in terms of people who are more introverted but looking for certain roles? You know, you have to be heard, you have to be seen, you have to be, you know, people almost confuse being introverted with not being interested, which is wildly not the case.
Yes.
Sometimes you can be hyper focused on things, but introverted.
Yes.
Where does that all play a role?
It all depends the role you're getting. Like one of the things I love to do in my interview process is ask random questions that you don't expect. And one of them would be basically like, oh, what's your hobbies? And then you tell me, oh, I like to swim, run, and go to the gym. Okay, a part of that is always sport related. Do you like any other sport? Oh, I like rugby. Okay, do you play rugby? Oh, yeah. Which position? X. For me, when you go to hospitality, you need to have a part of like a team player. However, you have few positions that you don't need a team player. You need someone focused in that and do that very well. So it's all about you. It's like basically, it doesn't matter the team you have, if it's like individual jobs or not. You need a striker. You need a left wing or right wing or defender, a midfielder. You need to have a team build. So you like as recruiter, we need to know that. Majority of the recruiters, they don't think about that, and they don't sell you to a business because they don't know how to identify that. So like I always go the extra mile. And then that's very important for you. In your case, like normally when I mentor my candidates or my clients, I tell them this. As you said, I take longer to learn. However, I master what I learn. And I like to spend more time alone, but I like to socialize. And that's another question I would ask. I would say, do you like to go out or anything? Oh yeah, I love to go out with my friends. So that shows you're you can socialize with people. You know, like sometimes you get people, introverts. The main thing with introverts sometimes is communication skills and the lack of communicate with people. That's the only thing. But it's ask the right questions, see how you perform in the answers, and that's it.
I love it. Well, I'll tell you what, unless there's anything else you want to mention about AI versus human interaction, I guess we'll call it there.
Probably in a couple of weeks or couple of months, we will know more. I would say this year, like the companies they are aware. Like a year ago, they were saying nobody touch AI, nobody goes ChatGPT or whatever other AI platform. They were saying no, we don't want a data breach or whatever. Just be careful. They were scared. Now they look and said, okay, that's happening. So what are we gonna do?
No, you can't fight it, can you?
Yeah. Now they need to just figure out what to do and how to do and how that can help them. Probably that scenario will change in the next few years.
Got you. Well, I'll tell you what. Thank you so much for your time. Really enjoyed that. Learned a hell of a lot. Thank you so much, Rick.
Thank you.